to grind. It's when an individual pushes his or herself to work hard and hustle to attain a goal, dream, or outcome. And on this show, we feature people from all industries about what they do, how they do it, and the grind behind their success. This is GrindMode. What's up, everybody? We'd like to welcome you to this next episode of GrindMode here with me, Patrick Kofi Austin. And today we're going to actually speak with Tammy Lewis, and she is the Regional Vice President of Primerica Pink Pearl Heroes, and of course, a nonprofit founder of and CEO of the One Dope Planner, which I can't wait to talk about this because this product seems amazing and awesome. And we have her on the show today to, of course, talk about her grind, what she does, why she does it, and the grind behind it. So we're going to bring Tammy on, and we're going to get this conversation started.
Right.
How you doing there, Tammy?
I'm doing awesome. How are you doing, Kofi?
Man, it's it's a day, but I'm glad we're here, and I'm glad I'll get to speak with an amazing, strong sister doing it big. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I've known you for a long time, it seems like. And I've watched you kind of move since in the social media age on all the things that you've done. That's been amazing and been very empowering, especially for sisters and people of color, which I super appreciate. So Tammy, go ahead and tell them a little bit of your backstory about yourself and, kind of what you've done and how you've gotten to, where you're at now.
Yeah. So, again, thank you for having me. And I think this is just a great platform to talk about entrepreneurship and just what's going on in the world right now. And I've been watching you do some awesome things.
Thank you.
I've watched you grow up.
You literally have watched me grow up.
Right. I have watched you grow up. Don't make me feel real old.
You're not old. I just hang out with people that are my older people.
Right.
Seasoned people. There we go.
Right. I'm going to tell your mama. Right?
Yeah.
So I was, my story, I've always been the girl who checked the box on middle class success. I mean, because we were all told, go to school so you can get a good education, so you can get a good job with benefits and stay there for 40 years and retire. But even we're seeing right now that is not the plan, because that is not how you quote unquote make it. But so did that. My background is actually health education, so I'm like in finances now. So nothing about me says anything about finances. But as a health educator, I found out very fast that health educators don't make a lot of money, and I actually like money.
Right.
So I did the next logical checkbox, which is to go get a master's degree. So I have my master's degree in public health and behavioral science. And I love what I did as a health educator. I just didn't make any money. But when I was working in the inner city clinics in St. Louis, I saw people who had on nice suits, nice shoes, nice handbags, known as pharmaceutical reps. And I was like, oh, well, they look like they make money, so I want to be that person. So I was that person for about 14 years. Climbed up the corporate ladder very fast. I was a rep, I was a trainer, I was a manager. In that industry, you won't see a lot of women, and you won't see a lot of women of color in management.
Right. I could believe that.
Right. So again, by checkbox, I was told, because I'm a woman and I'm a woman of color, I have to work harder, faster, stronger. So I was working 60 to 80 hours a week all the time. I mean, and still raising 2 young children, because
right.
Were younger then and married. So running a household and all of that. But that was my norm, because all my other girlfriends were doing the same thing.
Right.
On the grind, right?
Well, you know what? Before we go, let's talk a little bit about that, because that seems to be the norm, and obviously in this, it's not a fair shake at all. Like, and there's a lot of women right now still going through that, and and just we'll say even people of color, but just women in general, like white, black, Latin. that are going to have to work these crazy hours and doing way more above and beyond just to get the same. Like, what kind of advice would you give them when they're trying to navigate that situation right now? Because I know that's has to be hard. And then, like you said, and trying to raise and have a family and trying to have a life, period.
Right. So here's what I will say. Because of my, and I call it part of the Jonah moment. Like I had a blip, like right around 2010, 2011. And then, and that's when I made the transfer from health to finances. But more recently, I've been paying more attention to women and wealth in general. And I even have a private Facebook page for women where we talk about women and wealth and why we can't get ahead, why there's a gender pay gap. And women, when it comes to earning money in general, we have to spin a couple plates because the reality is there is a pay gap.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not my rule, this is what it is. And unless you can go to your boss and say, hey, I know you're paying John $150,000 and you're only paying me $125,000. I need you to make up that $25,000, and that just ain't gonna happen.
Right.
So
well, hopefully it will eventually. That's why we're working towards it. But yeah, keep going.
Actually, so there was a study that came out, and I can give you the source. I'll give you the source. I don't misquote the source, but they did say in 202 years, a woman's dollar will equal a man's dollar.
202
years. All right. I'm not a vampire. I'll never see that. My girls won't even see that. So we as women, we have to be more financial savvy and figure out how to make up the gap. And the data actually shows that women make 80 cents for every dollar a man makes.
Right.
And when you break it down by race, African American women are right at like 61 cents. Hispanic women are right at 53 cents. Right? And we wonder why we can't get ahead. Well, I mean, but it is what it is, but what are you going to do about it? That's what I talk to women about.
Right.
Let's talk about solutions. Unless you can go into your boss's office right now and say, give me that extra 25,000.
Right. And probably you can't, most people can't. Nobody, actually, a lot of men can't even do that. So. Wow. Okay, I'm sorry to break into that, but like, okay, well I'll let you continue. But that just seemed like that still really struck me, and I just because I know I have friends that are dealing with the same issue, and it just seems like it's still not right.
Right.
Just period. Like so. But yeah, so you did the whole corporate America pharmaceuticals, I believe, right? Correct.
Legal drug dealer. Legal.
Yeah, you were illegal. Well, and then now you're your own solo, you're your entrepreneur in the financial sector. Tell us, because I know the story a little bit and, I've seen it happen, but tell us how you got there and the reason why you chose to do this path. It's a little bit personal, but I mean, it's something that maybe other people need to hear and can learn from.
Right. So I think there was like a couple of pivots. The first one is, I think when you start to really understand your worth and what you bring to the table, you start to look at things different. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs before they shift into entrepreneurship, they always have this like gut feeling that this ain't where I'm supposed to be. Like I could be using my talent somewhere else. Yeah, you may pay me 6 figures, but I know I'm worth way more, especially when you realize how much money you make. And that was a big, I was like, I made you how much? And I only got what? Okay, something's not right.
Right.
So, and that was one of the first big shifts. The other thing is, so in 2018, in July, I actually always tell this story because it's actually kind of funny. But so in July of 2018, I run my first 10K that I thought was a 5K. And so race. I was checking off the bucket list. So extremely healthy. And then in August of 2018, so like 30 days later, I get diagnosed with breast cancer and whole life changes, where I had to look at finances. I had to look at what the next steps were going to be. I mean, and that was a trying time because I didn't tell a lot of people what was going on. It was like really my tight circle. as I was, processing and getting the results and what next steps were going to be. Most folks who like know me know that I'm pretty aggressive, so we went guns a blazing. I was like, this is total eradication. We don't have time because I had all my goals for the future ahead of me,
Right.
and I'm like, if we're going to do this, we're going to do it once, and we're going to go guns a blazing. So, but during that point is when I actually had more time to really um, look at wealth, really maximizing entrepreneurship, studying why wealthy people are wealthy. I mean, everybody wants to be Jeff Bezos, but nobody. Well, okay, to a point. Let me.
I don't know if we want to be Jeff Bezos, but we get what you're saying. Like we want, yeah, we want Jeff Bezos money. We don't necessarily want to be Jeff
Right,
Bezos.
exactly. Yeah. Right. You remind me to come back to that because there is a point on that one. But
Yeah.
so you have to study wealth because money. People say that money is the root of all evil. No, evil people who have money do evil things.
There you go.
Good people with money do great things. And so, I think of all the things that I still want to do for the community and for other women and for children, but it takes money to do that. So
Right.
during the process, that is when I started the Pink Girl Hero nonprofit for breast cancer awareness. And the reason why I started it is because I didn't see a lot of women who look like me talking about breast cancer. And I'll never forget. I was in St. Louis. It was like 3 o'clock in the morning, and I was like, "Someone needs to be talking about this." And I'm like, "Why are you waiting on somebody? Your
Yeah.
background is health education. Why would you wait on somebody else?" So,
Yeah.
we launched it. Um, I haven't like I've kind of set the platform. I go and tell my story. I talk to women about breast cancer awareness. So we haven't gone guns a blazing yet. And so but we did things to secure like names and so we're putting all that together. But it's really about breast cancer awareness for all women, not just women of color, even though women of color, of course, have higher rates, but it's
Right.
also about women with self care. Because, with my diagnosis, I got diagnosed by my um, nurse practitioner. It wasn't me. And that was
Mm,
the second time I had rescheduled an appointment because I was busy,
right.
because I was doing everything else but taking care of me.
Of yourself.
Exactly. So,
And I've and with that being said, what kind of things, now looking back, for the busy businesswoman that's out there, trying to take over the world and taking over the world sometimes with that, like, what advice do you have for them about, some self-care options or like really things that they should really just start thinking about to kind of decompress and really, I mean, because okay, this show's called GrindMode. You wanna know why? Because I haven't slept in years. It seems like, and I'm starting to realize now, even for myself, that I have to slow down, sleep, rest, stop drinking as much soda, things like that I never thought I would do. And as a business professional, busy woman with family and everything, like like to get more into the self-care part about what you did and maybe some advice you could give to some other business women out there that are having the same issue now.
so one of the things is I tell women that you got to take time for you. So um, if that's like going away for a night, like away from everybody, like
Like just
even if it's in a hotel,
right.
down in the city, right? It's,
I'm not. Hey, I ain't talking to y'all washing none of them dishes. Y'all go in there and wash them dishes.
right, right, right. Just just a time to decompress.
Right.
Like I told my family, I'm taking 2 trips this year. I'm taking one. I'm taking a girls trip. Did that in Vegas right before Corona happened. I mean, literally right before all this stuff happened.
Good for you.
And I realized I've never really taken a girls trip. Believe it or not, never taken a girls trip. I've hung out with my girlfriends that I work with, but I've
Hmm.
never taken girls trips. Um, and then as soon as all this kind of blows over, I just want to do like 4 days on the beach and do nothing. like, get up when I want to get up, eat when I want to eat. I don't want to do nothing.
Right.
That's what it is. Sorry. I just want to read a book.
Right. Just read books.
Yeah.
But and you're right, and I think it's needed. I think everybody actually really needs that at some point in time to, and also just from since I've been kind of slowing down, it's been giving me time to reflect on some of the wins that I have had that I normally never would have thought about, because I'm like, oh, I haven't done enough, or I'm not good enough at this, so I have to keep going at this. Just having a little bit of time to reflect and appreciate where you're at in the moment,
Right.
But yeah. So now you're been a pharmaceuticals genius. You're in finance now. You have a non-for-profit that's working really well in helping in the community, and now you have a new
New baby.
move baby that you're making, and I'm super excited to hear about this. It's a planner, but this is not just your normal planner, right?
It's not your normal planner. It's a digital planner. And so here's how. So there's a story behind it, and it's part of the Jonah moment. So when I was going through all the surgery, so I had a remarkable plastic surgeon, and he does a lot of reconstruction for breast cancer patients. But so the surgery that I had, he took my lat muscles and moved them to the front. I mean,
Ooh.
he's genius. I mean, like genius, and he is a genius. But part of that is my range of motion is now different. And so he said, you can't carry anything over 10 pounds. And the first thing I thought was, all my planners are over 10 pounds because I got those little pretty lavender ones, leather and all that stuff, right?
Right.
Which I love to death. But I'm like, how do I stay organized? Because I was still doing things as I was recovering and stay on top of things if I can't carry these things around. So I call it a divine moment. And I like literally, I can't remember how it happened, but all of a sudden I saw this digital planning and I'm like, this is pretty awesome. So if I can do this, and then I was like, well, why don't you just build it yourself? So a little unknown fact about me is they used to call me Tammy. Like,
I Tammy, huh?
so I have a little tech bug. Like I love technology. And
Okay.
I used to build databases. When I was working at the health center, I helped kind of build one of their databases for like lead screen. And so I actually really like that stuff. I'm like a tech geek. Like, I love it.
Nice.
And so I just taught myself how to build it, and people would see me with it. So I just built it for me. And folks would say, "Oh, what is that?" And I was like, "Oh, it's just a digital planner." And I just kind of like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And they were like, "Oh, so where can we get it?" And I'm like, "Well, you can't because I built it and it's mine." "Oh, well, you need to sell it." And I'm like, "Yeah." And so what I did in a nutshell is I partnered with one of my girlfriends who saw it too. She's like, "You're crazy if you want." And so Allison and I have partnered together, and she's going to do like the marketing. I'm just kind of, because I have my business.
Right.
And I think that's one of the things when you get into entrepreneurship, you have to know your lane, and you have to know what you got to totally keep your hands on, and what you can kind of say, okay, this person can take care of that. But you
That's
still got to have multiple sources of income. So yeah, so she and I are partnering on that. We're going to do a pre-launch first, but our spin is going to be totally different because there are some digital planners, and it's something that's still fairly new.
right. Okay.
It's
Right.
not, so it hasn't. I don't think it's been around. Maybe right at 10 years, so it's still like really really new. But it's fascinating. Like literally, I can search notes and put it in Kofi and search all my notes from you and I. Not have to flip pages.
Wow. And now this is an interesting, being a techie nerd person too. Does it connect to all my social and can pull all that information, aggregate it?
Um, well, I do know this that it is like the information is in the cloud, and so I
Okay.
have it on my
Ooh.
phone.
So then it probably can.
And so if I can pull the data from my like phone. I can use my phone and type stuff in, and it'll automatically move over to the tablet. And then I have it on my desktop as well, so it seamlessly merges. And it's pretty,
Nice.
yeah, yeah. So
That's
they call it dope.
it is dope for sure. And so that's, I mean, and I guess, you know, what drives you to do this, like to really get behind all this, because you're always active, you know, and you have all these different lanes that you're working on, you know, what inside of you really gives you that umph to get up every day to say, you know what, I'm going to work on all 5 of these things all at one time. Like, you know.
Well, the planner has kept me very organized. Like right now, I'm putting some things together for me to be more strategic. You know, about percentage of time that I'm using in each bucket. But honestly, Kofi, I think what it really was is when I did get diagnosed with breast cancer, and I was like, you have way too many pounds. Like, why are you squandering your pounds? And it was more so that this is the time for you to maximize on it. And that was one of the other reasons why, because I was hesitant about coming out with the planner, because I built the first one in 2018, in like November of 2018.
Wow.
And so, but I was like, why would you squander your talents? You've been given, it's almost like you've been given another shot at life. So why would you not?
Yeah, I could definitely kind of understand that, and the more and more I've talked, and the more and more, you know, people I've starting to meet that I've met, I think there is the moment that clicks, and you know, you start thinking about, you know, why am I spending X amount of time on X amount of work for X amount of dollar? One, you know, two, like why, like you said, why am I wasting a talent on just one thing? Like, you never know what's going to really work for you. And I think a true entrepreneur and a true real business person, that's what they're looking for. Like, you still might have a job and you still might be comfortable, but we just can't stop not trying to do something else.
Right.
And it's hard. And that's the reason, like, I really wanted to try to, you know, like with the show, I literally wanted to talk to people I see doing this exact same thing. And maybe, is there a real answer to the grind? You know, is there like, is there something that is a universal feeling or thought, or is it a collection of things, a reason why people keep doing it? And it's and just in this short time, like literally we've only been talking for about 25 minutes, and you literally have talked about 4 different things that you have on your plate that you do. And it's amazing, and it's awesome. It's just awesome. And I'm you know, that's why I wanted you on the show. I see you, and you're awesome. You're an inspiration to people. I'm for sure.
Oh, that's what's up. Yeah.
But the biggest thing too is, you know, I have to ask you this, and how do you balance all this with like your husband and your family and all that? How do you, I mean, you're making a planner, so I'm sure that's part of it. That probably helps. But before you made the planner, how do you balance that?
One of the things that I've been a lot better at, especially since the breast cancer diagnosis, is the word no. Mm-hmm. No, sorry. Just, you know, and I know that sounds harsh, but
Yeah, no's hard for me to say. I mean, you know, my dad, and he's his son, and no is hard to say.
right. But sometimes you have to, and maybe it's not a no, it's just like, yeah, I can't do that like right now. Like, you need to do that right now. And, you know, like I tell my girls a lot, you know, they're like, Mom, you can, yeah. That's not happening right now. They're like, when do you need it to be done? Like, let's look at my planner.
Right.
let's fit it in. But and the, you know, especially with them, I think one of the reasons why I don't like react, because I think as a mother, we want the best for our children, and we want them, you know, yada yada yada. But sometimes they need to hear no. Like, this generation needs to hear no.
Amen to that.
And
Well,
so,
they're used to instant gratification.
exactly.
Yeah. They don't know anything about like not being able to get on the phone, or not be able to or have to go up and even just turn the dial on the TV. Better yet.
I do
No.
that every now and then. Just some friends. I'll be like, hey, Lauren, come here real quick. She's like, what? I'm like, can you turn it down for me?
You're the worst. I ain't gonna lie, I do that to my niece and nephews too.
I'm just like, not on your phone.
Yeah, saying no, but that's still a hard one.
Yeah.
That, I mean, I know, but I definitely agree with you. Like having the opportunity now to maybe tell people no and know that your time is valuable, and if you don't say no to something, you have to say no to something else. So evaluating what is going to be a priority on your schedule and your time, especially as an entrepreneur and a business person, that's definitely has to be a top for me too, to try to develop that a little bit better.
Right.
Moving forward, you're developing your calendar. Talk about, because with building wealth, I know that's, like you said, you've been doing a lot of teaching with that and inspiring with that. Give us some things that we should be looking at on ways to build wealth that aren't too hard for the average person.
So the concept of distribution is, I think, something that we don't talk about when it comes to wealth. And so, like I study, and this is going to be crazy, I study the billionaire list, not the millionaire list. I study the billionaire list because there's a reason why that they're billionaires. Forbes just had an article that just came out that said the top billionaires in the last like 2 months either amassed $225 billion or 250 billion in 2 months. Collectively, that's how much they made in 2 months.
Wow.
Okay, so while everything is going on, wealthy people are getting wealthy. Because that's why people got to kind of stay woke on both fronts, right? Wealthy people are getting very wealthy.
Right.
But when you look at their businesses, all their businesses have massive distribution. Jeff Bezos, and I said I was going to take a step back when I have time and really look at how because he passed everybody, but he passed everybody because he had distribution.
Right.
So I'll give you like a simple
Yeah.
distribution. So
Yeah.
Warren,
Give the people simple distribution.
simple distribution, right? So our baby girl Lauren, she's 16 now, but when she was 14 in middle school, she saved $17. And I teach, when I talk to women about wealth, I always use this example. She saved $17 and went to Sam's and bought chips and Pop Tarts and sold them. She did get approval from the teacher. She was very strategic. She actually got approval from the teacher that was from the Bronx. I was like, that was smart. Right. She
Yes.
got approval. Right, because he's a hustler. But so she bought the chips and the Pop Tarts. That night, she came to me and said, I've already pre-sold $30. And I said, how did you do that if you didn't even go to school yet? She said, I pre-sold it on Snapchat. And she said, the problem is it's in different schools. People from different schools want it. So because I am her mother, I said, okay, so here's what we need to do. Because I was like, oh, this is good. Like
Right.
$17,
Yeah.
you already great. And I said, so you need to have people in each school that you can meet up with. And for like a month, we never had to give her money because she was like making money. People were, selling chips and Pop Tarts. I'll never forget, I had a teacher's meeting with one of her teachers, and I saw her at the locker with all her stuff, and I was like, oh my gosh, she's doing this right. But in less than 24 hours, she had distribution in place where she had money making money because she had other people at work and in her 24 hours. That's distribution. So whatever you do, whatever business you have, if it's just you selling a product or a service, that's why people get burnt out. But when you can duplicate you
When
and
you can,
have
when you can scale.
exactly. And so I always tell women when we're talking about their business, I'm like, okay, so that's great. You got a great product, but how do you have massive distribution where you are making money while you're in your bed? And that's, Warren Buffett, like him or not, and he is on that billionaire list.
Yeah.
Warren said that you will work until the day you die unless you have money making money for you while you're sleeping. So the key is if you're an entrepreneur, how do you get massive distribution in place? And you can do it from selling chips and Pop Tarts, because I gave you an example.
Yeah, I might start hustling Pop Tarts.
Right? Chips and Pop Tarts. I mean, Coca-Cola, massive
Yeah,
distribution. That's
yeah,
another.
that's true. The distribution, the scaling, and like you said, and it's been good to see. Like you see, or people see on their Facebook pages, people selling the jewelry and selling, all different types of stuffs in different kinds of programs. And what would you say though? Because there's people out there that like are against some of those type of programs. They don't see necessarily the value of it, or the affiliate programs and things like that, where it's very easy to be able to scale. What do you say to people that don't like those or don't believe in those and think that those are bad?
Usually usually people like that don't like money, and they just don't want to get wealthy. I mean, I don't.
I'm because I don't, I don't know. I don't really know what to say to them. Say to it. Because sometimes people just look at them and because I guess maybe there are some out there that have turned out to be pyramid schemes or things like that kind of have brought people off. But in general, those type of businesses are ones that help generate wealth on a consistent basis, as long as you stay consistent with it.
It's just, again, it's just distribution. If people understand distribution, if some people don't understand distribution, they just kind of do their own one-off thing, and but if you want massive distribution, you got to help other people,
Right.
build business, at the same time. Most successful businesses all have just some type of distribution, a form of distribution in place. It's just that I think people minimize it if it's a piece of jewelry. You know what I mean?
Right. And they don't look at it. They don't. And I'm starting to notice too, which thank God is starting to happen, is especially with the, actually it's sad that a pandemic had to kind of bring this about to people, that they really started to understand. Because for a long time, I've always been an advocate of selling online. Like I've been saying for at least 8-10 years or more that Jeff Bezos, when Amazon, when I was like bookstores, everyone, I was like, he's genius. Like, like everyone thought I was insane 15 years ago, 20 years ago. And I'm like, yeah, that's actually a really good idea. And people are like, no, go to the store and go buy it. And I've always been someone that's bought stuff online. Mm-hmm. And now with COVID and people not being able to do it, seeing the transition into this new online digital market and platforms has been amazing. Even with the streaming, which is something else I've been in, and seeing that pivot for people. Where do you see? With you being an entrepreneur, how do you think it changed for you and people that you know?
So here's another thing where I tell people stay woke is one of the things that has always been there, and I think people may have known it but never really paid attention to it, is automation.
Mm-hmm.
That's a whole other conversation. Automation is awesome and scary at the same time.
It is. We use it for our marketing, so I know the plus and the minuses of this. But yeah, a lot of them don't.
You see it at the grocery store at the self-checkout, because people want instant, get in, get out. So, but that's somebody's job. That's a couple jobs, right?
Right.
But so on the negative side, I don't think people are realizing that, just with job loss, a lot of companies are looking at their bottom line and their profit, and they're like, well, shoot, if we still made money and they weren't here, we need to rethink, right? And restructure. That's scary right there.
Yeah.
And I think, having a business where it can be 50-50, because we've had to pivot too. Like we do Zoom. Sometimes the first month, my face hurt.
just for being on. I'm sure, because you try to smile and try to be positive the whole time.
Then all of a sudden you press N and
you're like, oh.
right? I'm talking
Yeah.
like zoos, right? You got like to get buy new bears and spread
Right.
stuff. But I think people, I think there's a place for it. I think, but 50-50, a lot of people still need this interaction. Like, and I think that's why folks have got out because
Oh yeah, they're out in full
you
force.
they're out in full force. People still need, we still have a virus that is still very real. We had a couple family members. I actually had a cousin on the front line, a nurse who got it. Thank God she was had her immune system that was able to help her get through it. But at one point, I mean, it was like scary. Like
Right.
so that's still very real. But just seeing, making sure that you have a business that can use or benefit from the automation, um, but then also a business where people can still interact,
Right.
versus recap to recap.
Yeah, I think you're right because I mean I do like to buy stuff and that is one of the things like that I still like. I still like to go to the store for some stuff. There's certain stuff you still want to go to the store for, and I think finding that balance is probably going to in your best benefit as a business, and we shall see what happens moving forward, and for people out here that maybe are would be considered a non-skilled job, which every job takes a skill that not everybody can do. Maybe transforming and trying to find the ways that you can do those jobs digitally and or change your skill set. Pivoting to an entrepreneur space or something like that might be something to get out there for you watching this that might be wondering, what am I going to do if I lose my job due to automation?
Look,
That might be something about.
I'm telling people right now, if you are unemployed, that's the wake up call number one, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But it's an awesome time. I think a lot of people. The one book I always recommend to folks to read if they want to really know about wealth is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
Yeah, I
It,
had to go back and read that again, but yes, that's a good one.
Now, so here's my question for you. So when you reread it, did it read differently than the first time you read it?
I've read it twice, and the last time I read it was when I was about 8 years ago when I started my social flyaway company,
Mm-hmm.
marketing company, social media company. And yes, it read different, and it'll probably read different now than it did 10 years. And I'm glad you brought that up because I probably should go back and reread it than it did the first time because one, I'm older and my knowledge is deeper.
Right.
And I think that's a lot with a lot of books. Like that's a good one to read. But yeah, go ahead and keep on talking about it. But yes, it definitely read different from the first time and the second
So
time.
one of my mentors, he reads it for at least 4 times a year.
Four
And,
times.
yeah, and his net worth is like right. So
Okay.
I'm listening to him, and I'm like, if he reads it 4 times a year, I took my highest income to his. I'm like, I probably should read it like every week. Um,
Okay. Right.
So I did like 2 book clubs back to back on the book, and literally within 1 week, it read differently because your mindset starts to shift
There it
on
is.
this wealth. So I always tell people to read. That's a great book to start to read. But here's the other thing, like, when the Great Depression happened, that's when a lot of millionaires were born
Yes.
because people had these ideas or they had these concepts. And I'm like, this is the time to dust them off. We have time. You're in quarantine, dust them off and put a plan in place. And if you need help doing that, and of course with the women's group that I'm in, I'm like, yeah, just give me a call and I'll help you out. But if you need help putting a plan in place, reach out to somebody who's ran a business. Now, my 18-year-old, she's a freshman in college, and that's why I'm like, I feel like I've
Reality check, kind of.
I was like, freshman in college, yeah, freshman. Okay, so she's going into culinary, but she's also going into business. And at 18, we were writing her business plan, which she did get an A+ in.
Which
But
is that's awesome.
yeah, but she wants to be. She doesn't want to be a chef. She loves cooking. She wants to own the restaurant.
There you go.
So she's like, let's start with the food truck. So her business plan started with the food trucks, and then it went into like standalone businesses. But I'm talking to her and her little friends, and I'm like, here's what y'all need to pay attention to. Y'all need to pay attention to people who have a business that is still thriving during a global pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe even businesses like for her, because she wants to go into culinary, I'm like, look at what the restaurant industry has done to pivot. A lot of them went to straight takeout. Like, okay,
Yep.
so we have people in here, so we're going to do takeout. And so it's like looking at those things, because you can't be in an industry if it doesn't survive a global pandemic, then you probably may not, unless you just want to do it to do it.
Unless you just want to do it to do it. And tell her I
Right.
said ghost kitchens.
Those, okay, I'll tell her.
She'll know what I'm talking about if she does her research.
So,
Ghost kitchens.
He's like, that's another reason why I've been running like 3 to 4 times a week, because the
She's eating
girl,
good.
that dang on kitchen that my girlfriend bought her, she'll like go whip, and she like dessert and meat.
Ooh.
So she's like the two bad ones, right?
Oh man.
She'll whip up a cake from scratch, like the buttercream frosting from scratch, with the
Ooh.
notch in the middle from scratch, and it's just like, and then she'll go in there, put her headphones on, and like drop the mic, and she's like, "All right, I'll see y'all later." And she goes, and it's like, yeah,
Oh man, that sounds so good. And if anybody watching this and watch any of my feeds or hear me talk, I love food.
so yeah, you know what? I am going to introduce you more. You need to reach out to Kofi, because Kofi is a foodie. She's a foodie. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, but now she wants to start a cake business, and I'm like, great. What are we going to do?
And see, you know what? And that's great that you're like that too, because I think a lot of parents are discouraging of their children on being entrepreneurs. Like you said before, the kind of go to school, you go get a degree, you go work 40 hours. And even to this day, even though people see that people are not retiring, the average person cannot retire at 65. They're still pressing that same line for everybody. And we're realizing that as great as college is, a lot of times college is teaching you to work for people, not to actually think for yourself and create a business for yourself. And so I applaud you and other people out there actually teaching their kids actual finance and entrepreneurship and distribution and things like that. It has to be done, I think, from now on, because the society is changing so much. That we have to do that for our kids. And what do you think? I know here in Indiana they have been talking about actually going back to trade schools and those type of things for kids, because not everyone's built for college. Is there things like that they're doing in Georgia there, or how do you feel about that situation?
So yeah, I totally agree. Every child is not fit for college,
Yeah.
right? I had heard this from someone that, again, it's a mindset. Wealthy people don't send their children to college to learn from the professor.
No, the network.
Exactly. Exactly. Right. And I'm like, okay, so right. So where do we miss that? Right. But that's why middle class is middle class and wealthy is wealthy.
Yep, pretty much.
So, but that's what I'm teaching Taylor. I'm like, okay, so who is that guy? And what does that professor do? And who do they know that you can get in front of? I totally believe in trade schools, that, because the biggest reason why is because if the correlation, or what we were taught, is that getting a good education will pay you more money.
Right.
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily true.
Right. So so that in itself, a lot of, like Taylor, she was like, well, I'm taking this business class, but my teachers never ran a business.
Wait, well, that's unfortunately also what they say is people that teach normally never have done or do.
Right. So it's all by theory.
Right.
So yeah. So when we did her business plan, my sister-in-law is the educator. She's an English professor, so she did all the APA and made sure it was right, and I made sure it was right for content. I run a business.
Right.
But, But yeah, I totally believe in that. The other reason why is because student loan debt is, I mean, it's, I've been talking to a lot of millennials, and you probably have as well, that the reason why they feel they can't get ahead is because they have all this debt. So they're getting rid of all the debt, and then they're kind of like, okay, now I'm ready to take on the world, and then the global pandemic happened. Like,
Right. Yeah, I have a ton of friends that are, like you said, we're in that boat where they're like, okay, we're ready to go. Like school loans are finally getting down to the point where they're, they can see the end of the tunnel coming within the next 5 to 8 years. So now they feel that they can, comfortably invest in homes and things like that. And then this kind of hit, and it hurts, Unfortunately and fortunately for me, I was lucky enough to own collections of collectibles. And I paid off my school loans for the couple years that I did finish, and haven't had that over my head. But it seems like that's also one of the biggest faults of not creating new wealth and new businesses for entrepreneurs and out there. But yeah, that's I didn't really think about that until you just said that on the entrepreneur space. So how bad that really hurts.
Yeah.
No one has the extra money because of that.
Yep. Because they're drowning in student loan debt. And I didn't realize that, just like the millennial generation, like the first wave, they were really like coming out of high school, going into college right during 2008. And when the recession happened, it was my generation who took all the jobs because we were more experienced, and we would say, yeah, we'll work for less. So they ain't had no jobs. And now we got another global pandemic, and they got hit twice.
Yeah, hit twice.
The millennial generation really, really, really needs to understand wealth and how to build it, because you've been sucker punched like
like twice. So if you're a millennial watching this, become an entrepreneur is what we're saying. No, no, go work your job if you can find success in the job. I keep saying this. I joke around. I'm like, I'm honestly, no matter what, as good as sometimes I'm doing, and as bad as sometimes I'm doing, I'm always this close to getting myself back into the matrix. And I think that's all of us. But that's why we grind every day. That's what's up. Well, Tammy, thank you so much for coming on the GrindMode show and talking with us. And you're coming back on the show because we're going to do some. I really want to do some really big group conversations and things like that, and platforms and town halls, and you're definitely going to be back onto one of those if you would like to come back onto the GrindMode show.
Yeah. You can have me on for like when football season starts.
Oh, okay. Well, I have stuff to talk about the football season and someone's particular that happened, but we'll talk about that later. Off. We'll give that. We'll talk about that later. But until the next time, thank you guys for watching GrindMode. Tammy, don't leave. But everyone else, thank you for watching GrindMode, and we'll see you on next episode. Peace.
Thank you.